Hey everyone, my name is Lat, and today we're going to be talking about Infinite MagicRaid, a new gacha from DH Games. For those who aren't familiar with the gacha genre, let's talk briefly about them. If you've ever played popular games like Raid, Shadow Legends, or AFK Arena, you've played a gacha. The basic game loop is to collect some form of in-game currency and convert that into something collectible with in-game value. In Magic Raid, the main items of value are heroes, which each have varying degrees of rarity and power. Heroes have a number of skills and attributes which can define their role, their overall strength, and their appropriateness for any given challenge. By skillfully arranging these heroes into teams, the various obstacles in the game can be overcome. To acquire heroes, players need to accumulate various forms of summoning crystals. When activated, the crystals convert into one of the 5 ranks of heroes from common at the bottom to legend at the top. The higher the rank, the more rare the hero. Each hero does start off very weak, and you have to build their strength through gameplay to increase their levels, as well as by finding and equipping them with better gear, and by feeding them other heroes. Weaker and lower rank heroes are commonly known as food. Now, feeding weak heroes to make other heroes stronger sounds a little macabre. And in fairness, Magic Raid doesn't use the word feeding or food, they call it crafting, but the idea is the same. The community has settled on feeding, food, and sometimes fodder for other games in the genre, and those are the terms we'll use in Magic Raid. Finding, collecting, and increasing the power of hero is the basic premise of Gacha, and Infinite MagicRaid is no different. For players from Raid Shadow Legends, the gameplay will seem very familiar and derivative. There's some minor tweaks to the formula, blend in some idle game mechanics, for example, but it doesn't change the basic formula. This is perhaps not too surprising, as Raid has been an incredible success and has brought in a little over $1 billion in revenue in the 4 years it has been out. So, is Infinite MagicRaid any good? Well, based on my first impressions playing the game, yeah, it's a pretty solid entry into the genre. If you like gacha games, you should like this one. Let's see for yourself though. I've set up a fresh account to walk through some of the basics. Alright, so let's pop over to the hero screen. This is one of the main screens and where you're going to spend a lot of your time. It gives you an overview of every hero that you've got in your library, and they rank them in a number of different classification. You can do it by level. I usually like to do it by quality, which puts my most powerful characters at the top, regardless of what their level is. You can see Christian and Eden are both epics. That's one level away from legend. Next up, you've got Arella and Firewater. They're elites. And then from there, you go into commons and have relatively common names. Warrior, Servant Zero. As you progress in the game, you find yourself not frequently using characters that are not at least epic or above. When we're first starting off and we're just getting through the tutorial, it's okay to use elites. They're all you have. But they'll quickly become fodder in food for your main heroes to get stronger. You get a quick overview of what the character is strong at. For example, Christian is strong at AoE damage and shield, whereas Eden is a healer, a buffer, and can also manipulate the turn meter of your opponents. Turn meter determines when someone goes next, and by being able to move the turn meter, you can put your team at advantage to act sooner than your foes. You can see details on what each of the skills that a hero possesses here. For example, Christian has a basic attack that does 60% of his ATK skills worth of damage to a single enemy, and has a chance to stun. You can see all of the individual skill or the individual attributes that Christian has here. All heroes have these same attributes, but they're all going to have different numbers. And we can see here, if we take a look at the ATK value, for instance, Christian has a 1320, and let's compare that to Arella, who is an elite. She has a 792. We can see that the basic attributes are one of the key differentiators between the different types and why you want to focus on your epics and your legends, plus the skills themselves are improved. All of the skills that Christian has right now are level 1. You can increase their level, which tends to either increase the damage or reduce the cooldown or some other positive impact. And you do that by accumulating these sort of purple scrolls. As you might guess, these are a limited resource in the game, so you want to be careful and only build out the heroes that you think are going to make a difference for you over the long term. Heroes have a star rating that corresponds with their rank to start. So commons are rank 1, they get 1 star. Epics are rank 4, they get 4 stars. I think the thing to keep in mind is you can raise these as you go. As Christian levels up, he will get to the level cap of 80, and then you feed him uh, characters of the same or lower level, and that will allow him to level up to the point where you can ascend him, which is a different ranking system that also increases the power. The game seems to reward focusing on a small number of characters and getting them to the highest possible power versus leveling up a lot of characters at the same level. Alright, now let's pop over to campaign mode on the world map. Campaign mode is the PvE section of the game and where you're going to spend a lot of your time. I've already done the tutorial, which is Sword Harbor, and the campaign stages are broken up into 12 different regions, from Sword Harbor, which is the first, up through the Demon Abyss, which is the last and 12th. Furthermore, you have 4 different difficulty levels, from Common up through Hell, which are unlocked as you progress through the game. Each individual area, each stage, is unlocked when you complete the preceding stage, and there's usually a little mini quest that's involved to get to the next level. I've already completed Sword Harbor. Let's pop over to Miracle Castle and let's start that. There's going to be a short section of narrative. The narrative in this game, it's okay. I think there's still some timing issues with it that need to be worked out, and maybe some of the grammar could use a little bit of work. I usually skip it. I don't play these games for the narrative. After all, it is a linear progression through 12 stages that you repeat 4 times. If narrative is what you want, there's probably better choices out there in the gaming world. So let's go ahead and start. So the first thing we do is we'll click over to the stage. It'll give us a little bit of background on what we're going to face, some details on what the rewards is. Again, we talked a little bit about the rock, paper, scissors. So blue is stronger than green, green is stronger than red, red is stronger than blue. So if you're at a challenging stage, you may look at the enemies and fine-tune your team based on that. Right now we don't have enough players to fine-tune. Really, we've only got 2 epics and 2 elites, so we're going to stick with the 4. And then when you complete, you can get from 1 to 3 stars. You get a star for clearing the stage, you get a star if no hero is killed, and then you get a star for completing it in 60 turns or less. At the beginning of the game, pretty straightforward stuff. It gets more difficult later as you go, and that's some of the enjoyable part of the game, is trying to fine-tune your team, pick exactly the right characters to solve without losing any stars. So the first time you get into a new stage, you might get some of this kind of conversational narrative. I'm going to skip through it. You only have to watch it a single time. And then because we've gone through the tutorial, we can increase the speed. You can run everywhere from the standard speed up through the fast speed. You can turn automation on or off. I recommend the first time you start playing with a new character is you don't let it go in auto. You go in manual mode. You take a quick look at the skills as you go through that the player is able to use and how it's going to impact, so that you sort of build that intuition for a character. You can see the rock, paper, scissors. Yellow means you're evenly matched, which makes sense. It's a green character versus a green character. Red means I would be losing damage if I were to attack this character. And I don't have any greens, which would be the positive. So I'm going to see, what is this? This is 420 attack damage to a single character with a chance at crit rate. This character is pretty low health. Normally I wouldn't attack a red. Let's see if I've got enough. Yeah, so even though it was disadvantaged, it was such a powerful attack, I knocked that enemy off and was able to win. Now I'm going to turn it back to auto and let it just complete. Each stage in campaign has 3 waves. And when you complete, you'll get to a victory screen. It should just take a second here to complete this final wave. And then it'll show us the rewards. Perfect. So we won. You see, we got all of the things we needed to accomplish. We accomplished, and we got victory. Some of our characters leveled up by 1. Eden Hero, who was lower level, got enough experience to level up a second time. We got a potion that will give us some experience whenever we choose to use it, a little bit of coin, some experience to level up our main account, which gives us some perks that go along with that, and a piece of gear. This is part of the crit set, which is what we get in this part of the game. It's an axe, it's rare, it's ATK and plus hit. Not a bad piece. We're going to go ahead and keep it. And then it's going to pop us over to the next stage. I'm not going to run through additional stages. When you play yourself, you'll be able to go through this. And in the future videos, I'll go into a deep dive on some of the stages and team construction as well. So that's essentially the way that the game works. There's some other features and functions that come about later. You know, if you are familiar with gacha games, this is going to seem very comfortable to you. If you're not, give it a try. I think you might find it enjoyable. And speaking of enjoyable, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more in the series on Infinite MagicRaid, go ahead and like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments if there's anything in particular you would like me to cover, and I would be happy to take a look. Otherwise, I wish you all a fantastic rest of the day, and see you again soon.